Kakadosh Boker Or, Masechet Zevachim Daf Yomi Daf Memvav Amud Aleph, 46a1. We are by the two dots, which is the second line where it says Chutz Min Adam, which means that you're not going to be chayav on the eating of the dam because of notar or because of tum'ah. So the question is, Menana Mile, how do we know that it does not apply? Okay, that's the question. Menana Mile. So says the Gemara Amarula, Ula says, Amar Kar, the Pasuk says, Vani netativ lachem ala mizbeach lechaper. I gave to you, lachem. Right? Now, what does it mean lachem? Shelachem you. Which means dam of a korban is going to be like dam be'emot chulin. Right? Which means that there's not going to be milah. Tever bishmel tan, Amar Kar, the Pasuk says, lechaper. Lechapara netativ lo milah. Meaning, the blood atones. But it's not for milah, which means that there's no problem of milah in blood of the korbanot. One more time, we're talking about the dam shel korbanot and mi'ilah. Mi'ilah means that if you benefit from it, אתה לא עובר על מילה. מילה בדרך כלל, if you benefit from קודשים, you have to pay back חומש, ואתה צריך להביא קורבן השם מעילות. You do not have to bring a guilt offering of a sham meilot, right? And you don't have to pay back the chomesh. Rabbi Yochanan says, Amar Kar, the pasuk says, right? Ki adam hu banefesh shechaper, hu lifne kapara kela'achar kapara. It's before kapara like after kapara, just like after kapara. Ma achar kapara en bomila, meaning after you already sprinkled on the mizbeach, if you benefited from that dam, there's no mila. Afifne kapara, so to before kapara en bomila, there's not going to be meila. So says the Gemara, Eima leachar kapara ki lifne kapara. Why don't we say after kapara is like lifne kapara? Just like lifne kapara, there's meila. So to after kapara, there's going to be meila. Yeah? So says the Gemara, En lecha davar shenase mitzvato mo'olim bo. It doesn't exist something that you did the mitzvah, and now there's meila. Meaning if you already did the mitzvah, nigmar asipur. No, you did the mitzvah, ve'achshav matchil meila. I understand if you benefited from it before doing the mitzvah, so there's milah. But after you already did the mitzvah, there's no milah anymore. That's it. You've done the mitzvah. You've done everything. So the same thing. Okay?
If the mitzvah is
Velo, are you going to tell me that it doesn't exist? What about Trumat Adeshin? Trumat Adeshin is the leftover of the ashes that they used to take. That's a surbanah, even though it was done the mitzvah. Meaning you did the mitzvah, and after doing the mitzvah, there's still milah in what? In Trumat Adeshin. Answers the Gemara, no. Because Trumat Adeshin will be the kiuna, shne ktuvim bayim ke'echad. The Trumat Adeshin and the clothing of a Kohen, right? Those are two pesukim coming like one. V'chol shne ktuvim bayim ke'echad melamdim, and therefore you cannot learn from it. Meaning like this. There's a special din by Trumat Adeshin and a special din by Bigdei Kiuna that there's going to be a problem of milah. That means you're not allowed to benefit from it. Now, so says the Gemara, so one second, but if it does exist, so why can't I learn it to everything else? Meaning, just like by Trumat Adeshin, you do the mitzvah. I did the korban, and now I have the ashes. And there's a problem of milah on these ashes. So therefore, there's Trumat Adeshin. Says the Gemara, when you have two pesukim coming and teaching you the same yesod, shne ketuvim abayim ke'echad, two pesukim coming like one and teaching you the exact same thing, and there's no chidush by one more than the other, what happened? Emelamdin. You cannot learn from that a general rule. Why? Because if it was only written once, so then I could come and I could apply it to everything else. But if it's written twice and there's no chidush by one more than the other, why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent you a message. It's only by these two, and that's why it's written twice. So if it only applies to Trumat Adeshin and to what was the other one? Trumat Adeshin Bigdei Kiuna. Bigdei Kiuna. That's it. So says the Gemara, Hani Chalal Rabbanan Damne. That's good according to the Rabbanan that they say Vinicham Sham. When it says that you're going to place it over there, we're talking about the begadim that the Kohen used for Avodat Yom Kippurim. So he says the Kohen Gadol, Melamed sheteunin genizah. It teaches you to do genizah after the clothing, meaning that not even a Kohen Idiot is allowed to use the clothing of a Kohen Gadol that he used. So he says, but according to Rabbi Dosa, that he says mutaraot le Kohen Idiot, but you're not allowed to use it for another Yom Kippur. So, Michael, what are you going to say then? At the end of the day, we didn't find that there's going to be sort of milah by Bigdei Kiuna. So therefore, right, it comes out that it's only going to be one mitzvah, so you can learn it to everything else. So answers the Gemara, you're right. It's not Bigdei Kiuna. One more time. We had a mitzvah of Trumat Adeshin. Trumat Adeshin is already post factum. After you did the mitzvah, you did the korban, Now there's still an isur of meila. So that's a proof that meila exists even after you do the isur. We answer that the trumat adeshen and migdei kiuna are shnei ktuvim b'im kechad. Shnei ktuvim b'im kechad em lamdim. So ask the Gemara, that's not true. But by migdei kiuna, you are allowed to use it according to one shita. According to one shita, after the Kohen Gadol uses the clothing on Kippur, he's not allowed to use it for another Kippur. But a regular Kohen Idiot is allowed to use it. So according to that, it's not shnei ktuvim b'im kechad, but there's no milah. You're allowed to benefit from it. A regular Kohen is going to use it from now on. Just nobody's allowed to use it for another Kohen another Kippur. So answer the Gemara, you're right. Trumat Deshen is shnei ktuvim b'im kechad with egla rufa. You know what egla rufa is? What's egla rufa?
In English.
No, what is egla rufa? Forget about English. Tell me what it is. Yeah, Baba Haki.
When you find a dead person,
Chazak Baruch.
where to
Chazak Baruch. Baba Haki is on the ball. On the ball. David, kol hakavod. Yeah. Right? Yeah. No, both of you said. Yeah. So listen carefully. Egla rufa is they find a dead body and they don't know who killed him. It was outside of the city. So they have to measure which is the closest city, and the zikenim, the zikneh, right, of bedin of that city, they're going to come, they're going to bring an egla rufa. An egla rufa is special halachot. It's not slaughtered normally. They come and they cut off the neck from the nape, from the back part, right, and they cut off the neck, right? It's a special halachot they do by egla rufa. So he comes and he says, egla rufa is a surbana. Nobody's allowed to benefit from the egla rufa. They can benefit from it. Yeah. Right? It's not really a korban, but... Okay, fine, אבל זה לא הנאה שאנחנו נהנים מזה. אסור לנו ליהנות. Right? אסור לנו ליהנות. Right? So he says, this is שני כתובים באים כאחד. וכל שני כתובים באים כאחד, הם מלמדים. Right? What does that mean? They don't learn from it. Which means that you cannot learn a binyan av from two psukim teaching you the exact same thing. So says the Gemara, Hani chalamad, that's according to the mandamar הם מלמדים. But according to the mandamar, you can melamdim. So what do you do now? Meaning like this. What I told you as an assumption, hanacha is an assumption. I gave you an assumption at the beginning that anytime that you have two psukim teaching the exact same yisod, you're not going to learn it for anything else. Here now, right, there is another concept. The other concept is that you are allowed to learn. So what are you allowed to learn exactly? He says over here, right, that there is a mandamar that even two psukim coming together, you're allowed to learn from it. So what are you going to say then? So says the Gemara, Trei mi'ute ketive. The pasuk says two mi'uts. Right? What does that mean? Two exclusions. What does that mean? Hachaktiv ha'arufa, vehaktam ktiv ve'erim et adeshen v'samo. Right? And you should place it. So it's mashma it and not anything else. So therefore, when it says by egla rufa, ha'arufa, he'ayidiyah. How do you say he'ayidiyah? It's the one that's known. The known... for example, I'm going to tell you like this. When I tell you Bet Knesset, right? So I'm telling you, yeah, it's when I tell you Bet Knesset, it's a Bet Knesset. But there's a lot of Bet Knesiot say. There's a lot of Bet Knesiot here. So when I tell you Bet HaKnesset, it's the one that's known to everybody. So if I right now and tell you, go to Bet Knesset. But if I tell you go to the Bet Knesset, it's the one which is known to everybody. Hey HaYidiyah. Hey, the letter Hey, which is known to everybody, right? Bet Hamikdash, right? If it's not known, right? Exactly. The, exactly. So, right? The Bet Knesset is here, obviously, right? The Bet Knesset. Very good. So what happens is now like this. You've got something which is also the Samo. The Samo is you have to place it. It is coming to exclude something else. It, who? Velo acher. Right? So he comes and he says, V'samo. So it's coming to teach you that because there's two mi'uts, it only applies to Trumat HaDeshen and Egla Rufa and not anything else. So says the Gemara, okay, fine, I accept it. But now that you just told me that, he says, Utlata krai bedam lamali. Why do I have three psukim then by dam of the korbanot? Already have one and that's it. One is already enough. So answers the Gemara, three to exclude from these three halachot. Mila, there's no mila by the dam of the korbanot. Mila is again benefiting from kochim. There's no notar, leftovers, and there's no tum'ah. Okay? So therefore these are three things. Sorry. Thank you. Aval pigul lo tzrich kra. But pigul does not need a pasuk. He says why? The Tanakh we learned in the Mishnah. Kol sheish lo matirim ben l'adam mizbeach chayvin mishum pigul. V'dam gufe matiru. A dam is a matir. You remember we learned in the Mishnah anything which is matir other things. So in kol davar shematir dvarim acherim, there's a problem of pigul. Here there's a problem of pigul. Dam is a matir. But rega shata zorek et dam al mizbeach. The second that you sprinkle the blood on the mizbeach, it's matir. Whether it's going to be the basar leechol, the korban la mizbeach. Okay? So Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, Shlosha kritut bishlamim lama. Why do I have 3 times written the onesh karet by somebody that's tameh that's eating shlamim? It's written 3 times. Shalosh pamim. פעם ראשונה ויקרא כ"ב ג' where it says כל איש אשר יקרא ולקודשים וטומאתו עליו ונכרתה. Second place there in פרק זין פסוק כ' הנפש שתאכל בשר משמעים וטומאתו עליו ונכרתה הנפש ההיא. And there also פסוק כ"א ונפש כי תיגע בכל טמא ואכל בשר משמעים ונכרתה הנפש. Why does it say 3 times karet? Somebody that's tameh and he's ochel shlamim, right? He gets karet, but it's written 3 times. Why? Why does it have it 3 times? Memvav umbet, right? 46b. So Memvav umbet says, Achat li klal, ve'echat li prat, ve'echat ledvarim she'en nechalim. We're making a klal ufrat, right? And then one of them is for things which are not eaten. A karet for something which is not eaten, which means like this. One of them is coming and teaching you the klal. What is the klal? It's going to teach you that any kodshim is going to be a chiyuv karet when you eat it when you're tameh. One of them is a prat. We're talking about that since the chiyuv karet is davka kodshim misuyamim, which is one of the 2 psukim in Vayikra, right? So therefore the Torah is writing both of these as a klal ufrat, right? Which means davar she'bichlav yatsa min klal elamed lo emet tzedisol kol kulol yitzai. It's going to teach on everything. So therefore the shlamim was part of all the kodshim, right? Which you're going to be chayav karet. Now why did it take it out? So the drasha, which is going to say is that just like the korban shlamim, right, is teaching you on the klal, which is kodshim, so too it's going to be on everything which is kodshe mizbeach and not kodshe bedek habayit. You remember kodshe mizbeach was things that go onto the mizbeach. Kodshe bedek habayit is, for example, a car that was given to the Bet HaMikdash. That's called kodshe bedek habayit because that is being used, but it's kedushat damim. It's not kedushat aguf. It's only on the money. It's not on the body. Okay.
Sorry, the first one, the klal is on all the
Kodshim. Kodshim. But when I took it out, all kodshim. But when I took it out, why did I take it out? So he's coming to teach you that it's going to teach you that it's going to be all kodshim, which are kodshe hamizbeach velo kodshe bedek habayit. That's what it is. So kodshe hamizbeach is anything that goes up to the mizbeach, which is kedushat aguf. It's kedushat on the body of the animal. Kedushat damim is on the money. That's a value. So for example, if I give a car to the Bet HaMikdash, that's called kodshe bedek habayit. If I give an animal as a shlamim or as a korban, that's called kodshe mizbeach. So if somebody's tameh and they ate from the kodshe mizbeach, they get karet. But if they use kodshe bedek habayit in their tameh, they don't get karet. It's kodshe bedek habayit. It's not kodshe mizbeach. Okay? And the third one is teaching you for dvarim she'enam nechalim. Dvarim she'enam nechalim are things which is basically because of karet, because of achilat tum'an, kodshe mizbeach, which are not fitting for eating. So for example, levona, frankincense, ketoret, the ketoret, or there was a third one, the atze maracha. He ate the wood of the mizbeach. In all those 3 cases, they also get karet. So says the Gemara, now where did they learn it from? From the 3rd karet by shlamim. Everyone's with me? One more time. The 3rd karet by shlamim, why do I need it? Comes to teach you that even something which is not fitting for consumption, fitting to eat, you're still chayav karet. So says the Gemara, but according to Rabbi Shimon that he says that you don't get karet for those things, so why do I have a 3rd one? So the minute yes shitat Rabbi Shimon, according to shitat Rabbi Shimon, you never get karet for something which is not rawi for achila. You can't get karet for that. Karet is only something which is fitting for eating. But if it's lo rawi la'achila, how are you going to be chayav karet? That's shitat Rabbi Shimon. So according to Rabbi Shimon, what does he need it for? So he says la'atuya come to include chataot primiyot, which means that even though they were part of the kodshe mizbeach and they're chayav karet, according to him, you need a special one. Why? Salkat, I would have thought to say hol ve'amar Rabbi Shimon kol she'eno al mizbeach chitzon k'shlamim mechayevim mishum pigul. So mishum tum'ah nami lo mechayev. So Kamash Malan that it does apply, which means like this. You remember we said there was a shita that pigul only applies to things which apply to the outer mizbeach. Mizbeach?
Outer,
Yes.
get, nechoshet.
Very good. Chazak Baruch. Mizbach nechoshet. Mizbach. Mizbeach, right? Mizbach hachitzon, right? And mizbach haolah. Haolah. The inner one, which is in the Hechal, inside the building. What's it called? Mizbach hazahav, the golden one. Mizbach hapnimi, very good, the inner one. And mizbach haketoret, because the ketoret is miyuchad, that it's only on that inner mizbeach, on the golden mizbeach, which is inside. Okay, so one more time, you got mizbach haketoret, mizbach hazahav, mizbach hapnimi, the inner one. Those are three names for the inner mizbeach. The outer mizbeach is called mizbach nechoshet, because it's made out of copper, not out of gold. So mizbach nechoshet, mizbach hachitzon, was it's on the outer one, and mizbach haolah, was there's no olah which goes on the inside. Chatat, there's a chataot pnimiot, chataot chitzoniot, but an olah, which is the other major korban, zerak bachutz, mizbach haolah. So he comes and he says like this: I would have had a havamina to say that since there's an extra learning that pigul only applies to the outer mizbeach, not to the inner one. So therefore, only chataot chitzoniot, not chatiot pnimiot. There's a chatat which is on pnimi, which goes on the inside. Okay. So what happens now is, and remember, anything which is on the inside, kama matanot do you need? How many presents do you need to give on the inside mizbeach?
Inside, 4.
4. Chazak baruch. Al kol arba kranot. And on the outside,
2.
2 that become 4. Right? Shnaim shehem arba. Shte matanot shehem arba. Shnaim should become 4. Because you do on one corner, boom. The other corner, boom. That's how you get shte matanot shehem arba. Okay? So, says the Gemara, I would have thought to say that just like there's no pigul on the inner mizbeach, so too there's no tum'ah on the inner mizbeach. Meaning, if you're going to eat a betumah, you do not get karet. Just like there's no karet, just like there's no pigul on the inner mizbeach as well. Kamash malan, there's no pigul, but there is tum'ah. That's the chidush. That's why you needed the third pasuk of karet. Capish? Very good. Says the Gemara, Numi Rabbi Shimon, says Rabbi Shimon, Etchadar kolechol, whatever is normal for eating, eat when it was stated. Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Shakish, Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Shakish, Rabbi Yochanan, Chad Me'Heizuza, Chad Me'Heizuza, each one of these zug, Chad Amar Machloke, one of them says, Vitz Machloke, Betumat Basar, Aval Betumat Aguf, Ledivra Kol Eloke, but according to everybody, you're not going to get lashes. The Chad Amar, and one of them says, Ki Machloke Kach, Chach Machloke Kach. My tama, what's reasoning? Given the karinam because we call it basar sheyiga bechol tameh karinam v'tumato lav, so the tumah is on him. Meaning like this, you guys remember what is the pshat of tum'ah by a korban? Tum'ah by a korban. What are we talking about? One of them came and he said, no. Chadamar, the machloket is the same thing. Salam shows that also by tumat guf and also tumat basar. My time, what's the reason? Was it says basar sheyiga bechol tameh karinam v'tumato lav. So says the Gemara, Rav Tavyumi Matzniachi, Rav Kana Matzniachi, right? Even though Rav Matzuni, the Rav Tavyumi just learned like this, but Rav Kahana he taught differently. Chad ma'izud v'chad ma'izuzah, Seifa, it's on the Seifa. Chad amar machloke b'tumat haguf. One of them said it's a machloke by tumat haguf. Aval b'tumat basar divrei kol lokeh, you are going to get lashes. Chad amar, one of them says ki machloke bezo. Just like there's a machloket in this one, there's a machloket in the other one. What does that mean? Amar Rava says, Mistabra k'manda amar, it's more mistabela k'manda amar that says, machloket bezo, kach machloket bezo. My time, what's reasoning? Kevan the lo kanina bebus, we didn't read on it, v'tumato alav v'nichreta, so lo kanina bebas, v'asara sheliga b'chol tameh lo yachel. That means, since right now you don't read on it, right? V'ata lo kanina be, v'tumato alav v'nichreta, so therefore, the same thing. You don't have the next pasuk, which is right, right, which is going to be v'basar sheyiga bechol tameh lo yachel, right, which is the yisur on the basar, not on the tuma on the goof. Okay. So says the Gemara, ve'amar more and more says ve'abasar ze lerabot etzim luvno. When it says the word ve'abasar, it's coming to include wood and frankincense. So he says the Gemara lipsula b'alma. No, it's a psul. But it's not that it's going to be karet or anything. It's a psul. It's a defect. But that's it. Fine. Mishnah. Mishnah Omen Vav Amud 46b, the Mishnah. Okay. Mishnah. B'shem shisha dvarim hazevach nizbach. The Zevach is going to be fitting for 6 different things. L'shem Zevach, L'shem Zoveach, L'shem Hashem, L'shem Ishim, L'shem Reach, L'shem Nichoach. Yeah? So you've got, right, any type of a korban. So one more time, we just said that there's going to be 6 things which are done for a mizbeach, for a korban. Number 1, zevach. What does that mean? For l'shem zevach, which is for the mina korban, which it is. Number 2, right? So which it depends what the korban was, whether it's a shlamim, olah, whatever it is, right? So he comes and he says, right? You're going to say l'shem olah. You're not going to say I don't know l'shem shlamim. Number 2, l'shem zoveach. That's the owners. So it's always going to be an atonement for those owners. Number 3, l'shem Hashem, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Number 4, l'shem Ishim, right? That you're going to put the emurim on the mizbeach, which means the limbs on the mizbeach. Number 5, also Shem Reach. It's a reach, it's a good smell, a fragrance. And Nichoach, which is it does nachat ruach to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hachatat v'asham, you also have the Shem Chet. Because the sin offering and the guilt offering is also for a sin. Depends which sin. It's a kapara, an atonement. Amar Rabbi Yosef says, you say, Af mi shelo yab libo l'shem echad mikolelu, even if you didn't have in mind one of these 6 things, or 7 things if it was going to be a chatat and hasham, kasher. שהוא תנאי בטין, because it's תנאי בטין, שאין המחשבה הולכת אל אחר עובד, because the מחשבה is only going to go after the עובד, okay, which means, right, and not after the בעלי הקורבן. That means even if he didn't have that in mind, it doesn't matter, because that's why the Kohen is the one that's doing it, okay? So that's why the Kohen is able to fix up, even if the guy didn't have all these things in mind. Says the Gemara, Marav Yuda Marav, says the Marav, Ola l'shem Ola, obviously lapuk l'shem shlamim delo yisheh, l'shem ha'ishim, right? Lapuke kebaba delo, right? He says the delo reach l'shem reach. Lapuke varim shetzlan velo yalan, right? Delo, which means it's coming to exclude that if he had the kavanah laktir alidet tzliat ha'evarim. Okay, the Amar Rav Yudah Rav, it says Rav Yudah Rav, evarim shetzlaan ve'elan en b'hem mishum reach. Anytime that you have evarim, right, that they went onto the mizbeach, ve'elan and they brought it up, en b'hem mishum reach. There's no reach. Nichoach l'shem anachat ruach la'Hashem l'shem nishama v'yaolam. So Amar Rav Yudah Rav. Says of you the name of Rav. Chatat sheshachta l'shem olah psula. When you have a chatat that they slaughtered it as an olah, it's going to be pasul. L'shem chulin, it's going to be kshera. Okay? So Amar Rabbi Elazar says of Elazar, what's the reasoning of Rav? V'lo yechallu kodshei b'nei Yisrael, kodshim mechalin kadoshim, ben chulin mekadashim kodoshim. He says kodshim are mechalel kodshim, but chulin is not mechalel kodshim. So he says like this, Mativ Rabba asks, Amar Rabbi Yosef says of Yosef, even if you didn't have in mind one of these things, kasher, shut betin. Tama shelo yab belibo klal, because you didn't have anything, right? Haya belibo shem chulin, can be pasul. So Amalei Abaye says, Dilma lo haya klal kasher u'mnatzeh. Maybe you didn't have it, it's going to be kasher and it's going to be mnatzeh. Haya belibo shem chulin, kasher u'mnatzeh. So Amar Rabbi Elazar says, Rabbi Elazar, chatat sheshachta l'shem chulin is also going to be kasher. Right? Mishum chulin, right? If it's mishum chulin, it's going to be psula. Kedaba mine Shmuel Rav Huna, just like he asked from Rav Huna, minan lemitasek bekodshim, mimzan mudbar aleph on the top. How do you know that you're going to be mitasek bekodshim shu pasul? Shleimar v'shachat ben makar lifnei Hashem. Shchita l'shem ben makar. The shchita has to be done for ben makar. So ask the Gemara, Amaleh zob yadenu ahi la'akev inai. How do you know it's ma'akev? Amaleh letzonechem tizbachu ledatchem zivchu. You have to be right for your own sake.